Hey, it's Noelle Bloom here, and welcome to Bloom TV. You're in the right place if you want to create a business that makes a difference and live a fabulous life. Are you lacking clarity on what you should be doing next in your business or life? Maybe you're going through a transition right now and you're not quite sure how to move forward. Something that I've learned along the way is that as you grow both professionally and personally, and as you move through different levels of success and you move through different levels of your business and ultimately move through different levels in life, there's going to be times where you need to transition or pivot to something new. And the key to doing that smoothly is knowing exactly how to find the clarity to do what's next when you need it. And that's the exact conversation that I'm going to be having today with my very special guest. Her name is Brooke-Sidney, and she's from Bella and the Babe. She's a self-love and mindfulness guide who helps women who are tired, overwhelmed, and guilt-ridden break free from guilt, find more time for self-care, and also love the lives that they are presently living. And she's gonna open up and share how she's been able to find the clarity in her life transition and how she's been able to make decisions that align with who she is. So if you're wondering what to do next, or you're desperately searching for the answers for your next big move in business or life, you are gonna love this conversation because we dive so deep on how you can find the clarity you need to move forward with confidence. So I'd love for you to join us in this conversation. I think you're absolutely gonna love it and find so much value from it. So let's dive right in. Brooke, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you.
Yay, I'm so excited to be here.
Whoop, whoop. All right, so one of the things that I've noticed for many people, not just entrepreneurs, but just in general, that sometimes we can get into a place in our life and we feel like we've lost all clarity. Maybe we've got disconnected from who we are and where we want to go. And sometimes we need to kind of come back to the origins of things and think about what we really want to then gain more clarity to move forward. And I think today we can have an amazing conversation about maybe how you've been able to do that, how I've been able to do that, just keeping that sense of clarity. So we're making decisions that align with not only how we want to do business, but how we want to live in the world. So with that said, I'd love to learn more about how you got started in business.
Well, the funny thing is that a long time ago, I actually had a marketing, I actually had a communications business, a long time ago, way out of college. But then I was also doing this on the side. So I was working the traditional things. But I then fast forwarded, I got married, I had a baby, and I realized that I didn't want to go back to that big law firm or lawyer job, because that's what I do. I'm a lawyer and I'm an editor and all this other stuff, but I didn't want to go back to that job. And so I honestly think that my son birthed a business in me, literally birthed a business. I feel there's something special that I think gets ignited when you become a mother, and you have to trust yourself so much. I think becoming a mother, that I feel trusting my ideas and where I was going, and then starting to ask the questions now. What did I really want? What kind of legacy did I want to leave behind? What kind of woman did I want to be? For me, motherhood, I think really flipped the switch for me.
It snapped it in place.
It did.
What do you want? What are you going to do? So you're saying that motherhood basically forced you to get clear on what it is that you wanted to do? Is that what happened?
I think I would probably say it was an invitation. I think that in our lives, we have, if we're paying attention, and I'm really into mindfulness, that's what I teach. Yeah. I think that our lives, if we are aware and we're open and paying attention, we're given several invitations, right? We're given points. Some people sometimes look at them as crossroads, right? When we're not listening, then we'll come to a crossroads and then we'll keep going on. And if we don't make a decision, or maybe listen to our higher self or God, whatever that is for that person, then we can miss these invitations. But I view motherhood, I view that just that organic, natural time in our lives. It was an invitation for me to look at my life deeply and to think more, I think, fully and about what I really wanted.
Yeah, you have such a beautiful way of saying things. Like I'm like, it was a wake up call, because that's what it felt like for me. After I graduated university, I was like, it's a wake up call, because I was studying to go to law school. I had my LSAT books. I remember sitting at my kitchen table. I was studying, and then I was just like, you know what? I am done. Like, I am so done thinking about the attorney lifestyle and what that would mean for me. It just didn't align. And I've always been a lifestyle enthusiast and have worked backwards and kind of thought really strategically about what I wanted. But for me, it was like a wake-up call. The moment that I was on the crossroads, should I go here? Should I go there? It was a wake-up call. But I love your beautiful language as far as like it was an invitation. Yeah. And I think looking at that as an opportunity, at least for your journey, felt like an invitation. For me, it was like a wake-up call. Like, I'm being shook, like, okay, it's crunch time. What are you going to do? Time is now. You've got to decide. So yeah. So yeah, go ahead. I just wanted to mention that.
I think that's exactly right. And I guess the reason I see them so much as invitations is that, ultimately us as women, a lot of times I don't think we realize that we actually have the power. Like, we are the ones that are doing the choosing. And so it's all about, the whole thing is life is not happening to us. We are creating our lives. And so at every moment, really minute by minute, we're given invitations, and some are bigger than others. And especially if we're not paying attention, it feels like a jostle, like it feels like, whoo, but like, I really do think now that we're always invited into our greatness. I just think a lot of times we're not paying attention or we're distracted. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I love the fact that you brought up awareness, because I think awareness is so key. When life gets busy in business or in your professional life and things are moving at a rapid pace, a lot of times we don't pay attention. We miss warning signs that, hey, this is about to turn ugly, or, ooh, this might not be the right partnership for me, or, ooh, my relationship is kind of taking a turn. And when things are busy, we kind of put things on the back burner. And when things do show up, sometimes we're not able to see that invitation because there's so much stuff going on. And as far as awareness, if you create that space into your life where you can audit what's going on and say, you know what, let me look at my life from an objective point of view, step outside of myself, and let's see what's going on. But when you don't have the awareness, that's when you slip into the default way of working and living. And that's when you kind of wake up and say, I was living my life by default and not design, right?
That's totally true. The only thing I thought of when you said that, though, is I guess I encourage the women that I work with to, and this is only like a slight difference, is instead of stepping out and being objective, I invite them in.
Ooh, love that.
And I think that we already, and you know what? It's almost like this paradigm. I think that a lot of people now are having this discussion around like going with the divine masculine and the divine feminine and all of that. And the masculine, is very like objective and logical. And I have that as a lawyer. I'm trained as a journalist. That's the way I was trained. So it has been, part of my journey is to figure out how to go within and honor the wisdom that I have inside. That's not the book knowledge. That's not Google. That's not other people's opinions, right? It's really figuring out a way to go within and listen and to feel into the alignment. And so that was the only thing that I thought of. I was like, yeah, I feel like there definitely is a time for objectivity. Yeah. I just really encourage women to honor that inner knowing that is like this, like the knowing beyond knowing, if that makes sense, and feeling into it.
Yeah, I love that too. And I am the same way. I look at things definitely from an objective point of view. That's how I was taught. I think that's just genetically how I'm wired. Super strategic, super like logical, trying to figure out, okay, what's the best way? And oftentimes, sometimes overthinking the strategy part of it can be a downfall. It's always a double-edged sword, right? With our strengths. And I love the idea that you talked about, kind of tuning inward. And I think that just this conversation about your internal compass can tell us so much if we stop looking outward and instead about, what do I want? And I've had this conversation with many people in the last few weeks about how oftentimes when we're feeling that lack of clarity in our life and we're not sure where to go, most people go and look for other people to give us the answers and the validation. What should I do next? And in my experience, what's helped me most is sitting down with myself, like you said, going within, getting out a journal and really writing things down so clearly and kind of doing a brain dump to say, where are my thoughts? Where am I lacking that awareness? And where can I, have a closer look about where to move forward about what I want? Before I go out there, right, and try to find other people or expertise on situations. Not to say that other people's opinions aren't valuable, but at some point you got to kind of turn inward. That's why I love that you mentioned that. You got to turn inward and find your own truth, right?
No, I completely agree with that. And I really feel like what you just described is a skill. It is a knowledge set. It's like a tool in our tool belt, but we're not really taught it in school. It's not like you're taught how to listen to yourself, really how to make decisions from within. We're taught, like, I can remember for so long that I thought life operated on a pro-con list. Like you write all the pros down, then you write on the cons down, and unless you added weighted variables to them, right, totally logical, you went with whatever was made logical sense, like whatever the pro side said exactly. So everything that you were saying is, I feel like definitely what we as women need to like kind of go back to. And there's totally a place for other people's thoughts. But I have found, and this is through life, like totally through life and actually having mentors and different people, that conversation, even when you involve someone else's thoughts, is so much more helpful and valuable when you know where you sit. Like when you know what already feels in alignment. So then you're just kind of bouncing ideas off versus like absorbing because you don't have yourself and your thoughts together.
Yeah, I love that. It's kind of like you're all over the place, right?
Right.
When you don't have, when you don't know you and the power that you hold, it even gets more confusing when you bring people into the mix. What's that saying? When you got too many people cooking in the kitchen.
Too many chefs in the kitchen or cooks in the kitchen. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, it's too much going on. And then you're not able to hear because you're too busy trying to take in what someone else is saying. Like I said, I love working with people. I love hiring people. But if you're at the stage in your life where you're confused and you don't even know what's right or left, or you don't know what you want, it's always best to kind of, like you said, sit within and get that awareness and figure out what's next. So as far as your life and just your journey, has there been a time where you felt like maybe you got off track a little bit? And how did you move forward with finding that clarity and that sense of direction again for yourself?
It's funny. Like, I think that this is like a weird question because I feel like it's almost very philosophical. I think there are points in my life where even getting a divorce from, I call him my husband, getting a divorce, that was like, how did I get here kind of thing. You know what I mean? But there was a part of me that knew that it wouldn't be happening if it wasn't supposed to happen. And I feel like now, especially as I'm farther along in, I feel like the self-honoring and self-loving journey, I've accepted all as good. And it sounds so completely crazy. And I can tell you when I was like in the midst of my divorce, that was not my answer. Like, I remember people being like, oh, you're going to be so thankful this happened. And I was like, get out of here with that. you know, like, this is so big. Like, this is so different from everything else that's happened in my life that I didn't like, or that I didn't like in the moment. But it actually really is not. Like, again, it's almost like trusting that everything is working out for your good. And when you have that kind of belief system, and I think it's, some people might magically be born with it, but a lot of people discover it along the way, and then they choose to trust it. And I feel like having that, I don't really have regrets. I just have things that I have learned from. And as I continue to learn, I have a deeper appreciation for this journey, this life journey that I'm on, as well as other people's. That's the crazy part of it. Like, you know, the joke is like, maybe my ex-husband and I were just meant to come together and create our beautiful son. Like, there's so many things at work all the time. Everyone has these invitations. We're all, I feel like, on these journeys, but choosing to like honor all of our experiences and trust that they were good really is so much more helpful in our lives, I feel like, than thinking, oh, that was a terrible way, I shouldn't have gone down that path, or you know, oh, I really hate that I did that, I wish I could rewind and go back 10 years or something, versus like thinking, wow, like, I'm here and I'm supposed to be here, and it's all for my greatest good. And I learned so much from those experiences. And I know that by loving and honoring and accepting myself, like, I'm just in such a better place for myself and for anyone's life that I touch. And I feel like it also makes us so much more compassionate towards other people, you know, what has happened in their lives. It just really makes us better human beings. I really feel like that. Even if that philosophy is wrong, right? Like, even if it's wrong, it's like, no, I'll take that one, because I think it makes you happier and more loving to yourself, but it also makes you more loving to other people, right?
Yeah, I love that. And it seems like you've developed a mindset along the way that's helped you kind of build that foundation to where if you had to take a detour, if you had to take a different route than you thought you were going to take, you now look at your life experiences knowing that, hey, this is something was meant to happen, or it's something that's already in the works, and you just have to learn from that. And like you said, no regrets, but just to sort of move forward. And I think when you have that mindset, and if you are lacking clarity in your life or direction, and if you do have that mindset, you'll find your way, because you're grounded and you know that, hey, there's something to learn from this. And when you approach life from that type of mindset, it's like you can't be off your path for too long if you have that self-awareness. And it seems like it always comes back to self-awareness, right?
Yeah, I think so. I really do. Yeah, being aware of it, being aware of who you are, where you are, you know, what's going on internally, how you're feeling, being able to register those things. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So the last time we talked, we were kind of looking at the comparison of, you know, before you got your divorce, I remember you saying that you had no idea that, or if you were to ask yourself or tell yourself, oh, you're going to get divorced in X amount of years or whatever, however long it was, you would have been like, that's crazy. So you kind of had and not abrupt, but a radical life change. And how were you after that? You know, how was life after divorce, and how did you move forward in your business and kind of get back on track? Because when we talked before, it felt like you just reinvented yourself. And I would love to learn more about how you were able to go through that difficult situation and still come out winning and just feeling like you're on the right path and you're doing work you love. How did you just sort of bounce back from that?
Well, I would say this. Okay, so I guess there's so much you can say about it. And I think like the first thing that I would say is that I didn't do it alone. I feel like part of some of the things that I see, especially as entrepreneurs and especially as women, we always feel like we need to do it alone. Like, even the idea of like, especially as entrepreneurs, like hiring a business coach, if you're like in that position now or anything like that, so often we're given the message we have to do things on our own and figure it out on our own. And what I learned from this experience that I was like abrupt, like this big life change is like, no, I'm going to get support. I'm going to get help. Like I had a coach, that I talked to. I was definitely involved in spiritual activities. And I really you find out in those moments who's really in your corner, like who is your support system. And you have to rely on those. And I think too, I gave myself permission to heal. I gave myself permission to not be the old Brooke-Sidney, right? Like, cause I'm not anymore. None of us are. We weren't the same today. We aren't the same today as we were yesterday. And I realized having this major life shift, I'm definitely growing and evolving and changing. And I think the other part of it is like, I have a little person watching me. And as mothers, especially, like, there's only so much that we can say. It's all about what we do. And I wanted to, be the best that I can, both for myself, but also for my son. And so I feel like that part goes into it. Like I went all in. I'm like, I'm going all in. I'm going all in and figuring out how I attracted this relationship, how I, who was I in the relationship? I went into, instead of the why me, I went into, let's discover everything that I'm supposed to learn and get from this relationship and the unfolding of it and how to be the next best, like co-parent. That's the other thing. I have so many women that are bitter after divorce. And I really wanted, and I do feel I became better and not bitter. But that's a conscious, everyday choice to, focus on the good. Right. And to know that your child is really, truly learning from us, so the short answer is giving myself time to heal, being okay. And that means being okay with where I was, but also like taking stock and knowing I needed help. And it was okay for me to, if I had to get a coach or, get a therapist or whatever it is, right? We so often work on our bodies, but don't work on our emotional health or any of these other things. Or, even for my business, I have a coach. Coaches have coaches. And I feel like I knew that this was a time that I needed support. And I was okay with getting support, right? And I know that I know and I trust that it was all perfect, but I really do think in some sense it made my path easier. I hope that everyone who goes through major transitions, they should not do it alone, right? Like get the support that you need, whatever that is, even if it's just a trusted confidant, if it's a coach, if it's a therapist, if it's like a gym. The other thing is I became a yoga and meditation teacher. I put that energy into developing that aspect of it. One of my friends was like, instead of getting fat, instead of eating your feelings, you went and like did yoga. It's true. It's true. I tried to really figure out positive outlets and also do things that I couldn't necessarily do. When you have a husband or a partner, you're always checking in, like, can I do this? And the flip side of being divorced or whatever is, guess what? You only answer to you.
Yeah.
So there was like this moment of like, woo, freedom. Like, seriously, like that's the thing. It was like when you embrace where you are and you look for the beauty of where you are, this divorce is just an opening into this whole other opportunity to have a different life, a better life. It's just really how we allow ourselves to think about things, really.
Yeah, I love the example and just how detailed you are with this. And while you were talking, something that really just kind of made my mind go off in a little tangent was that you mentioned the word transition. And so if you're feeling the lack of clarity in your life, if you're just not sure what to do next, that's probably a key sign that it's time to transition into something different. And like you said, that's an invitation. If you're aware and see the invitation that you can make different choices and you can make decisions that align with who you are. So first, just a second, I want to really get into the challenges that we face when we don't have clarity, when we are not aware, and maybe what does life look like when we don't really know where we're going. Because for many people, really, we don't know we're off track and lack clarity until we're so far gone. And then one day we just look and say, wow, how did I get here? And then you kind of have to backtrack. So what are some warning signs that you've seen in people, maybe you've worked with, or maybe in your own life? What were some of those key indicators before you were fully aware that I need to make some changes or this is not working? What were those key indicators, maybe externally or internally, that you've experienced when it comes to a sort of hint that my life is out of alignment with who I am and I'm not using my internal compass?
I think that, especially as it relates to, I think, business, in terms of looking at like outside things, there's a couple of tracks that run, I feel like, now that, we're in business. And even though our business is not ourselves, and it's really hard sometimes to make that distinguishing between our business not being ourselves, but yet, like, especially if we're the brand or we're the main thing, that it is kind of us. But there is a spot where our business is completely intertwined, and that's in our personal development. And I feel like a lot of times, even if we are on the right track and we're met with obstacles, we know how to fix them. We have the energy to fix them. We are able to approach them from our solutions mind and not our problem mind, which is another whole conversation.
Yeah.
But when we're out of alignment, things are not clicking. They're just not clicking. Like, the problems seem bigger than they are. Yes, there's a whole idea of like, well, I'm not getting clients, but we don't understand why we're not getting clients. Because there's a difference between, all the little sales things. Maybe I need to do some more online marketing, or maybe I need to do a better funnel, or, whatever it is, right? Yeah. But like, when we're in alignment, we're able, I think, more easily to access the solution mind. And I honestly say, and I know this is kind of weird, but it feels differently. I know, like, from a person who, I went to law school, the bar was very, very hard. And it was, obviously hard to do it. Like, it's hard to study and pass the bar. But I feel like I knew that I was in alignment, even though it was something that it was difficult for me to do. I knew that I could do it, and it felt a part of my purpose. It felt a part of something that I was going to use and need, and so forth. Sometimes we push things that are just not meant for us. And we encounter invitations, right? Right? We could say block, we could say challenges, we could say obstacles, or we can say invitations to revisit those choices and to make a new choice, to bring fresh eyes to whatever it is that we're encountering. But when we're not in alignment, it's very hard for us to get clear. Everything kind of looks foggy, or murky, or you stop listening to yourself and you start listening to other people, or, you're looking for any way to make something work instead of starting and you figuring out what makes sense for you to put forth and make it work. I feel like that's the best way to explain it. And I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it totally makes sense. And I think that to think that way, and for people to really understand what you talked about right now in the last few minutes, is that when you look at what everyone else is doing and you see people's success, or it could be in a relationship, when you just grab things that other people are doing and try to implement it, and you think it's your thing. For example, I'll give you an example. I don't know, like, if we're talking about marketing,
right,
you have to do a webinar, and it's just like, and then it's just, maybe that's not for you. Maybe you can do something in a different way. And I think that when we try to force things in our businesses and in our lives, it's a recipe for disaster. And I think you're right. I think we can feel it. It just feels different, whether you want to call it your intuition or your gut, again, that internal compass. And I think that that's why I believe that before you start anything new, a new project, a new offer, a new business, a new relationship, I don't care what it is, you're moving,
Right.
get clear on exactly where you want things to go and where you see things, because if you lack that awareness in what you want, things are going to feel so much more difficult. And I think it just always goes back to awareness, that if you slow down and you listen to yourself and you stop looking around at what everyone else is doing, how everyone else is running in their business, you can start to get some type of clarity by just sitting with yourself, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
I think it was Oprah who said that the moment, I'm totally going to probably mess this up, but she was saying that when you catch yourself constantly asking other people what you should be doing, oh, should I go here? What should I eat? What do you think about this top? Or how's my hair? Just random things. Should I be offering this program or that program? What should I call this? Once you start constantly asking everyone else, that's the moment you need to turn around and you need to sit with yourself. You need to ask those questions. And I think the clarity in our life really comes from listening to ourselves first and being in tuned to what it is that you want. So I think you're such a wonderful example about how you've been able to have that mindset and look at your life and the experiences as a tool, and as if you have any challenges or, like you say, invitations come up, that's the opportunity to rethink things and kind of pick what direction you want to go in.
Right. Yeah, if we could really slow down, because, you know, everything in life is a journey. You know, as entrepreneurs, our businesses are a journey, our daily offerings, everything is truly like evolving. So it's not to say that like we figured it all out and then it's static and it stays that way. No, like you're gonna get inspired to do new and different things. And if you're paying attention, you're gonna find ways to up level, you know, whatever you're doing. But it really requires us allowing the space to be aware and to really be in touch with ourselves so that we can have those creative moments, so that we can have those drops of, you know, inspirations and downloads and however it speaks to you, however, you know, that works for you. But when you're quiet and when you allow yourself space to be aware of how you're feeling, what you're thinking, especially to pay attention to your thoughts, you know, because there's so many running around, right? When you are able to like really, I feel like almost return home, you're able to birth so many great things. And when challenges occur in your business, you're able to, I think, really use them for your good.
I love that. And you talked about approaching things from that problem mindset versus solution mindset. Can you dive a little bit deeper? Because I want to know what you think about that and how you distinguish the two. So maybe an example or a scenario between those two, and what are the differences? And you could just go off the top of your head. It doesn't have to be perfect.
I'm trying to think of a great example, but the idea behind it, and I don't even, it's not like I invented this. I feel like it was either Thomas Jefferson or something. The idea is that we get problems like all the time, like things happen to us all the time. And if we stay on the vibration or the level of the problem, then we can't really see the solution. Because whenever something is given to us, and maybe this is philosophical or whatever, I don't think that we're ever given anything that's not also bundled with the solution. So like if you were to think of it as a coin, on one side is the problem and on one side is the solution. But what happens is so many times we get so focused on the problem. Like we're so focused on the problem, and we're so focused on the doing or the pushing or the forcing to get through the problem, that we don't take a moment to like step back, regroup, turn within, maybe see what we're supposed to see at that time, and then basically bringing our vibration up, like however you look at it, rising above the problem, so that then you enter the solution mind, right? Then you become in a space where you're open to new ideas. You're open to hearing creative thoughts. You're open to like seeing that sign when you're driving home where you're like, I never knew that this could do that. Or I never knew that, you know, all of those things come in like inspirations when we're in a space to receive them. And when we're in a problem mind, when we're focused on the problem, when we're focused on the challenge, right? And when things are like, when we're disgusted or we're sad or we're angry, we're actually not in a state to receive the solution that is not right. It's not the same it's not the same level the problem was created.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. And I've seen that play a role in my own life when I'm stuck on what's not working and, oh, this is not going right and this is wrong and I launched this and it failed and no,
Right.
you know, it's just when you're so wrapped up in the problem, and I think for many of us, we can fall into that place, and it can be really hard to move from that problem mindset to the solution mindset. But then, as you mentioned, when we start to make that transition, it's like the doors are wide open. We see inspiration, we see a solution. Or sometimes even in my life, I'm thinking, why didn't I think about that before? Why did it take like me falling down and pushing to realize, oh wow, there was the solution, but I couldn't see it because I had those blinders on because of being stuck in that problem mindset. And I think that for people who are lacking clarity in their life or just feel like they're just the problems, you know, they're approaching their work and their business and their life from that problem viewpoint or perspective, I think you got to challenge yourself to transition and start asking yourself, how can I make things better? How can this work for me? What would my life look like if I knew what I wanted? And I think by, again, the self-awareness thing, it always comes back to that. When you ask the right questions, sometimes the right answers will come. So,
but it's, you know, I think it's challenging. You know, it's a habit. For one, it's like a habit, I think, for us, the way that we're taught to do things. I really, it's not that I want to remove people's personal responsibility, but I do think people can have a lot more compassion for themselves, because I honestly feel like we're not taught to go 2 steps forward. We need to sometimes slow down. We're taught to just run, you know, like just keep going. Like I have 10 things on my to-do list, and in order to knock those 10 things out, I need to work faster and harder. Versus it's really it's a shift in the way that you think, and is like, wait, what are the 3 best things I can do right now from a clear space, right? And sometimes those 3 things that I did will affect, you know, all the 10 that I have to do. Or I really only needed to do those 2 things today. But I think we get so caught up, and I'm not immune to this. Like I'm always checking myself, be like, wait, hold on.
Slow
down, you know, go back and meditate, or, you know, do what I need to do for me. But it's difficult. It's difficult. I talk about it with moms, especially, I feel like, in self-care. Well, my child needs me, and but you have an empty cup. You're about to go off. You know what I mean? And instead of like pushing ourselves through, if we took a moment and actually stepped back and said, you know what, I'm just going to spend 15 minutes, just close the door, turn off the lights, lay down, take a nap, stop the momentum of whatever's going on, recenter myself. When we come back, we're way more productive. Our clarity is there. We're in alignment. Our energy is now focused in the direction we want it to be. But it is almost counterintuitive to slow down to go forward.
Yes. I love that. And I think in this day and age, we're all going so fast. We're connected to technology 24/7. We're on social media all the time. Things are happening. There's never, your to-do list in business is never done. Your to-do list as a mom is never done. There's always something you could do. Demand your time. And of course, slowing
and wives, like all these roles that we have, you know, just there's so many roles, so many hats.
Yeah. And then, so one of the things I want to dive in really quick is we've been talking about alignment, right? And for some people can mean different things. But for you, what is alignment? So if we talk about how people need to make decisions in alignment with who they are, what does that mean to you?
You know what? That is something that has developed, honestly, over time. Again, if you had asked me when I was in law school or any other time, alignment meant making a smart choice. It meant making a choice that, honestly, when all the options were weighed out, everyone would say, Brooke, that's the right choice. Or that was definitely you know, the side of the pros list where, you know, all the evidence before me shows that this is the right choice, versus now I'm really more likely to check in and see, does something feel good? How do I feel about it in my heart, in my space? And do I feel like I'm being drained, or do I feel like it's energy or life giving? And it's not to say that we never do activities in our life that we don't want to do, right? But the goal is to minimize that. It really is.
Yeah.
The goal is like, it just, you know, I really believe that. I really believe that we can create our lives, and that we can work to have lives that really fulfill us and make us happy and leave us with like a charge, like charged up, you know, with the things that we're working on, the people that we're working with, the environments that we're working in. You know, I think you even, you know, you mentioned like some people that don't live outside of California. And I think both of us live in California. And there was a time when I didn't, and I always wanted to live here. Live where you want to live. Like, I know it sounds crazy. Maybe you can't go there tomorrow or move there tomorrow, but I really believe that we can create the lives that we want. But it really begins by being clear, but being honest with how things feel to ourselves.
Yes.
And stripping away layers. I know, like, for a while, honestly, I didn't even know that I had the capacity to feel the things that I now am able to feel. And that required work. To strip away conditioning, strip away childhood things, strip away ways that I'm supposed to be or should do, you know, all of that. And it's a journey. That's why I'm saying, like, alignment today is not what alignment was 5 years ago, or maybe even 2. But I know that alignment is making choices that feel good, that feel in integrity with me, that feel honoring to who I am and who I'm growing into all the time, because we're always growing.
Yeah, I love that answer. I love your definition of, or at least what it means to you to be in alignment, living in alignment with yourself. And for me, when I think about alignment, and that essentially is like all of my decisions, whether it's business or personally. And I always like to ask myself, of course, how does it feel, for one?
Right.
And of course, you know, my logical brain, the strategic mind in me is going to start making them lists and thinking, okay, well, like, what does this really look like for me? Right. But most importantly, what I really look at is my lifestyle philosophy. Does this decision align with my lifestyle philosophy? And then number 2, my core values. So I've got core values, you know, collaboration, fun, enthusiasm. You know, there's some things that I check my decisions with my values. And most importantly, thinking about that future self and what type of woman I want to be 3 years out. What type of business do I want to be 3 years out? And then asking myself, am I making those decisions that are going to get me there? So for me, one of my skills is just having that futuristic mindset where I'm able to kind of step back a little bit and look at my life in the next few years and ask myself, hey, is this not only in alignment with what I want now, but the Noelle 3 years from now? And I think that's been able to help me make sure that I don't get too far off track. That doesn't mean I don't get off track, because there's many times in my journey where I was doing things and I was like, wait, I stopped doing this 2 years ago. Why am I doing it again? Right. And I was talking to another woman, and she was saying that, like, it's like a staircase, right? We're kind of walking up that staircase, and it's round, and sometimes we'll deal with the same problem in different levels of our life. And so for me, I know I've had to bump my head, and I'm going up the staircase, and then I bump my head again. It's just like, don't I know this already? And sometimes when it comes to personal development and mindset, we're like a rubber band, right? Like, so we can grow, we can expand, we can learn lessons, we can have that aha moment and clarity. Right. But sometimes we'll snap back into our old ways of thinking, the default way of thinking. And I think that's why it's so important that as we grow our businesses, we also pay real close attention to our mindset and personal development and constantly grow. So when we do snap back, we're able to then rework the problem from the solution-minded oriented, you know.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so interesting. Like you said, so much good stuff. But I was thinking about it from like a yogic perspective, because like in yogi tradition or philosophy, there's this idea that we have some scars. They're like grooves in our brains, or like grooves. And it's essentially like patterned ways of thinking. It's the same thing. It's like yogic speak for like modern mindset conversations. But like the ways that we have been, right, either conditioned to believe, like from our family of origin or from like our ethnicity, whatever it is, right? Being a woman, what it means to be a woman is different in the United States than it would be in like India or like France, right? And so we have these, or you can call them shared consciousness, whatever you would like, same idea. But it's so easy to get back into the routine, into that patterned thinking, that habitual thinking, until that new way of thinking becomes a habit, right? Until we have done it for so long and it feels good and it's in alignment, and we've surrounded ourselves a lot, sometimes it really is, with the people who have that same complementary kind of thinking or uplifting and positive mindset too. That really goes a long way. And I love what you said about lifestyle design. I just, lifestyle philosophy, that's so key. And although it changes, right? Like even though it changes, you know that you at the core, that it's still going to resonate. It's still going to get you to the right place. I love that. I love that.
And okay, I mean, I think we can go forever. Seriously. It's like you say something and I want to dive deeper, and then I say something and then you want to. But okay, you brought up the idea of change, and something that I wish everyone would do, seriously, is to know that your vision for your life can change. It will change.
It will.
It doesn't mean that like it's going to be super drastic. Like, you know, sometimes I feel like I want to be doing the work that I do until like I can't walk anymore. Like I'm so old that I need someone to, you know, help me up the stairs to go speak on stage or something. But that doesn't mean it's going to change drastically, but give yourself permission to grow and allow that vision to evolve with you.
Yes.
And that's why sometimes we may lack the clarity, because we are getting those invitations. I just love that, the idea of that. We're getting these invitations for change and to make different decisions. So if you realize, or you set out knowing that you wanted something and something happened in your life, a divorce, or I don't know, you stepped into motherhood or something happened, know that it's okay to change your mind at any time. You can change the course of your life at any time with any decision, and it's your life. And I think that we need to give ourselves that power back and start looking for other people to give us the answers. And that's what this conversation is about. Clarity, but that internal compass, that you hold the answers. That doesn't mean you can't get some support from people, because we can't do it alone, really. And I can say that every decision that I've made in my business and just the direction has been inspired by someone else. So that's not to say that I'm not inspired or don't look to other people, but at the core, you know, and the more aware you are, the easier your life becomes, really, when you know yourself.
Yeah. And, you know, like on a like totally like spiritual or energetic level, when you know like what you're trying to do, your purpose, your dharma, what you're here, you know, however you look at it, you're able to call in, I really believe, like the resources, the people, the opportunities and experiences. And it all begins with really being in tune with ourselves and being able to, you know, vibrate clearly as best we can, and trust that we're on the right path.
Yes. Oh, I love that. Okay. So before we conclude, what's some advice that you would give to someone who's who's dealing with the transition right now? Maybe they're deciding, I want to change my business model. Maybe they're thinking, you know what, this business is not aligned with what I want to do and it's time to let go. Maybe they're in a relationship. Maybe they're going through a divorce and they're like, you know what, it's time to move forward. Whatever it is, they're in a transition and they're looking for that clarity. What would you say is your biggest word of advice to them for helping them get clear again on who they are and get connected with themselves to move forward and live a life that's an amazing life? What would you say to that person who?
I think it's really so important for them to give themselves permission to make a change, to not stay in anything that doesn't feel good, doesn't feel in alignment. So often we stay in things too long because we feel obligated to stay in something. We feel like we've worked so hard, maybe if it's like a business and we're scared to pivot or scared to change. Trust that you've gained the lessons that you need to learn at this stage, and give yourself the permission, right? Like, give yourself the permission and the freedom to choose again. And let it just be, like a lot of times we create really big stories around things, like things become so charged. Oh, I had a breakup. I had a divorce. I had a this. I had a that. It's just life. Yeah. It's totally just life. And everything can be your next step to your best next thing, right? And it's like the moment we take away some of the charge from things, the moment we're like, yeah, and what? Like, great. This is happening. This is totally happening. And I am like giving myself permission to go with it and to make new changes, to see things anew. It's so freeing. It's so freeing. Like, I mean, I could just say, like, I remember being like, oh, we're so sorry you're going through divorce. And like in the beginning, I was like, yeah, sorry. But now I'm like, it's fine. Like, don't be sorry for me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things where it's just with time, know that it's all working out for your good. But I feel like so often we don't give ourselves permission to change. We're waiting for someone else to say it's okay. No, you give yourself permission to make the change, to try something new, to be okay with this new path, right? And not beat yourself up about the old. The old is done, right? Learn what you have to learn and mine it for all the good, and take the good with you and leave whatever else behind. And just, if we could just, I really feel like, especially as women, if we could just give ourselves the permission to always look to our highest good and move forward, and whatever that means to you specifically. Not what your mama thinks it means, not with your friends, right? What it means for you in the next step, in the next evolution of you in your life.
Thank you so much. I love that. And just the idea of giving ourselves permission. I know that even when it comes to the simplest things, like giving ourselves permission to do what we want, and knowing who we want to be and the things we want to do, what we want to have, it can be so hard to give ourselves the permission. So I love that would be something that you would tell someone who's going through that transition. Brooke-Sidney, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.
You have been amazing, just dropping bombs of nuggets and just amazing insights for people. And I think that no matter what level of success that you're at right now, there's always going to be a point to where you feel like you lack some type of clarity and you have to recenter. There's always some situation or a challenge where we kind of question things. And I think it's important that if it's time to pivot, make a change, or do something different, or you're lacking that clarity, first step, give yourself that permission, and it will make things a whole lot easier.
Definitely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for this amazing conversation.
Yeah. Amazing. All right. So I would love to hear from you. Have you been through a transition in your life? And has there been a situation where you felt like you weren't quite sure whether to go this way, that route, or you just felt confused about who you were? Maybe you've been doing something and you woke up and realized, I'm not living in alignment with who I want to be. And if you felt like that, what have you done? If you feel like you've got something amazing from this conversation, what's your biggest insight? Did we say something that sparked a change in the way you want to do business or live your life? I'd love to hear from you. Head over to noellebloom.com and leave a comment. If you like this video, subscribe and share it with your friends. Thank you so much for watching. As you're out there in the world doing your work, remember to have fun, live free, and feel fabulous. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time on Bloom TV. Bye. Are you on the VIP list? If not, you're missing out. Head to noellebloom.com now and sign up to get free exclusive content to help you create a business and live fabulous.